Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar on vision and values. This is the start of our next series of webinars, which we will be running every Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And hopefully we will take you through the journey, the business basics that you need to know to make your business a success. So we're going to start with the vision of where you are, where you want to be in your business, and everything starts with this. So first of all, I'm just going to introduce myself very quickly. My name is Angela Turton. I'm a senior partner with Action Coach and I look after the area out of Oakham. And as I said, this is the latest in a series of weekly webinars, but we are starting again to build the business basics for your business. If I can just start with a little bit of housekeeping, could you raise your hand if you can hear me, please? And oh, well, I've got one raised hand, so that's fantastic. And could you also just let me know that you can see my slides? Thank you very much. Wonderful. As those of you who've been on here before will know, there's a Q&A box and a chat box. If you would type anything into those two, if you wish to raise a point or answer any of our questions, that will be absolutely fantastic. And the more participation we get from you, the better we're able to serve you. So let's start with thinking about the power of a vision and of a dream. And I was looking at the type of people that had a vision, that are well known for having a vision. And these are only a few of them that are on the screen, but their vision was so clear and what they wanted was so clear that they made it happen. And we can look back in history and see that they are making it happen. The Wright brothers absolutely wanted to allow people to fly. They had that vision and that dream that they wanted to let people fly. And because they were so clear on the vision, they beat their competitors who were very well funded by the US government to make the first aeroplane, because they absolutely had a vision. Martin Luther King Jr. is absolutely, I have a dream, which is what he said. He didn't say, I have a strategic plan in place. But because he had a dream, everybody was able to get behind it. Anita Roddick, she really wanted to see a vision where we were not using testing chemicals on animals to bolster our beauty regime, and she was very, very definite of that's what she wanted to do. And you can see the other people on there, they really knew. President Kennedy's in there because he wanted to send people to the moon, and of course we know that that happened. So the power of a dream is really, really part of making your business happen, making what you want to do happen. Now, we don't all have a dream as big or as life-changing as Elon Musk to send people to the moon. What we're concentrating on here is our dreams for our business and for our lives. And they may not be, as I said, sending people to the moon or getting space travel for the masses, but it's what matters to you, and that is really, really important. And this is what we're going to talk about today in our vision, is part of working out what you want for your business. And today we're going to talk about the first three on that little chart there. So we're going to talk about your values, your purpose, and your envisaged future. And next week, Rupert will be covering the big, hairy, audacious goals and your goals with you. So he's going to be following on this very much to a pair that we work out what our vision and our values are, and then we use those to work out our plan, our goals for the long term and the short term. So our vision is made up of our core values, and our core purpose and our envisaged future. And it's what we see when we set our vision for the future and the things that mean enough to us that we actually will stand by them. And with a big enough vision and a clear enough vision, you can accomplish anything. But for some of us, getting absolutely clear on that vision is a little bit more difficult. So, where do we start? Oh, apologies, press the wrong button. Where do we start? So we start with thinking about a long range idea, and it's a bit idealistic. What could we achieve? And we're talking big picture stuff here. We're not talking about, what you're going to have for dinner tonight or anything like that. We're talking about, what do you want your life to be? And being able to set a vision, if you haven't got one, then maybe just to be the best in your industry is enough. And if you've got a corporate vision, then maybe just to be the best in that corporation is enough. And it's working out what that means to you, what that vision looks like to you. So if we think about where vision, when we started, when I was a little one, we had records, vinyl records. My kids won't even know what they are, except that my daughter's got a pretty picture on the wall with someone. But that morphed into a new device, an iPod that would carry loads and loads of music in your pocket. So instead of just one vinyl, you suddenly had a lot. I think, when I got my first, I think it had about 1,000 to 3,000 songs on it, and now, of course, we have Spotify, so we can listen to almost anything that we want to do. So we are looking at when we're looking at this vision, it's not so much the product that we're looking at, the way we deliver what we're looking at. It's about the music, as it were. So for these, the way we are, the vision for this company would be something like, I want to give music, allow people to have music in their own homes. And the first way that they did that was with a vinyl record. It probably wasn't the first way, but that was the first way that the masses were able to listen to music. But the way that happened was changed. So if you are tightly identify your vision with your if you're saying you're a producer of records, then when that technology ceases to become relevant, your business may well cease to become relevant. But if your company vision is to bring music to the masses, then it doesn't matter that the technology has changed, because your vision will stay the same. And that's the sort of thing that we're looking at today. So let's start with the first of those components that make up our vision, and that's the values. And these are the things that we hold true to ourselves. And when we get down to it, we probably only have about 3 to 5 values that we absolutely believe in to our core, and that we really, really want to. And it's your personal values that are going to drive the values for the company. So what could that be? What does that look like? And again, this can be quite difficult to find. So we might think about where we are now. So we might look at what words would best describe our business. What qualities do we see in our business now? What future qualities would you like to see in your business? And what are the qualities that set you apart from other people? So this is a bit of a now thing, and it may not be where you want to be, but it may be. And it may be that when you look at your business, you can pick out the things that you absolutely love about your business, and there'll be other things that you don't love. And maybe those are the ones that you can ditch. But the things you love about your business, if you wanted to talk about it, they are the things that may help you define your business. I just want to give you a little quick example of this in the modern world as it was, as it is. And this is from the British Council. And what I loved about this was the way that they expanded on their 5 core values. Again, they've only got the 5, but what they're saying here is that they underpin everything. And you can see that they have actually explained what they meant by that. So on the value of valuing people, they've really explained what that means to the British Council. It's not just words that they've put together, they actually understand what that means to them. So, I mean, you can read that as well as I can, but they've got their 5 key values, and these key values are what are going to drive any decisions that they have to make, especially tough decisions that they have to make. They can reference back to their values to see whether or not they are something that is going to be good for them. So, for example, they're saying that keeping our promises and being consistent is something they treat very highly. They regard very highly. So they would want in all of their dealings to make sure that they're honest. And if they're being asked to lie or being asked to be false, they can actually refer back to their values and say, no, that's not who we are. And there's more examples coming up later. So where do we start? Well, as I said, we can start with working out what we've got now. If that doesn't work for you, then maybe the thing to do is to look at just a list of words and pick out loads that work for you. And we at Action Coach have a whole A4 page. As you can see, it's quite well filled, and this is just the first bit of lots of words, but you can find these values anywhere. And just which ones work for you, which ones actually you look at and you just jump out of the page at you, and they're the ones that you want to be looking at. So if we're an engineering firm, precision might be for us a really, really key value. But it may not be something that is necessary in whatever business it is that you're running. If you're a creative person, then I can see we've got beauty down there. That may be something that is there. If you're a therapist, happiness might be something that you would really want to have. Hopefully, if you're a tax accountant, accuracy might be something that is really, really useful for you to be putting out as one of your core values. Now, you might look down this list and you might think, oh, goodness, yes, I'm going to have all of those. I really love those. Let's see which one, and you end up with a list of 20 or so things that you think, yeah, they would be great to have. So then you need to narrow that list down to get to your core values. But before I go any further, with what we do, how do we get that? Has anybody actually got, you know, their core values that they know for themselves are the ones that they're really, really um, high up on their list of things that they would be putting down? If you could just put that in the chat box, I would be grateful, because it's really interesting for me to see what people do think in regard to this, and if they have got lists that they want. I'll just give you a minute to think about that. Okay, we've got a few coming in, and that's interesting. It's really lovely to see that people do know what their values are. So thank you very much for that. Okay, so if you haven't got this clear in your head, you've got your list of maybe 20. You need to start asking yourself, how do I redefine this? How do I get them less? So I've only got my 3 that I absolutely, or 4, 5 that I absolutely stand against. So the first question you ask yourself is, if I were to be penalised for holding that value, would I stick to it? So, for example, and this is not something I'm asking of you, but if we cast our minds back a long way back, to the early Christians, they were ready to stand up and be persecuted for their faith. And we have seen that time and again in history coming through. There are people who are ready to stand up and be persecuted for those values they hold dear. Would the values you've got on your list fit that? If I were going to put you into a ring with the gladiators, would you still be sticking to that? Or in a little bit more realistically, if I were to say that holding that value would mean that you don't get so much business, would you still be holding it? Is it something that you absolutely believe to be true? So that's the first thing to ask yourself, and that will eliminate some of those. And the last thing is to ask yourself, if things were to change in my industry, would this still be relevant? So that might be, with technology changing all the time, it may be that things would change in your business, and it may be that actually we get to a stage. So maybe one of your values might be I'm trying to think now. Might be quality of something. But if we got to a stage where everything was of that quality, would it still be high up on the list? So where would it be that you would be cease to be relevant? And you may yourself think of some of those. So I've got a couple of examples now for you. And when I was pulling this slide together, I was having difficulty with the fact that quite a lot of all the examples in books and on the material that we have are American, and quite frankly, quite a few years ago. So I put out a call to my fellow partners and coaches, and I said, who do you use as for values, and who do you use when we're talking about current day people that you can see have these few values? And I got a torrent of comments back of people that they consider to be companies who hold fast to their values, which really does show the value for me of our inclusiveness. One of our values within Action Coach is abundance, and this is really showing our coaches. They're really, really willing to give their time and their thoughts. So these are 3 that came up most from my coaches. So we have the John Lewis Partnership, and they have their 5 values, which again you can see on the screen. We have Volvo, which is obviously not British, but it isn't American, and everything starts with people. And their mission is to make people's lives easier. Their values: safety, quality, and care for the environment. Very, very clear that they will be driven by those values. Sorry, the pun not intended there. And then the lifeboats. Lifeboats was my parents' favourite charity, and you know, again, their values, they're very, very clear. Their values are selflessness, courage, dependability, and trustworthiness. And you know, their purpose, when we come onto it, is also very clear, because they're saving lives at sea. It's very, very clear vision for them. They have their values, and they have their mission or their purpose in life. And I'm sure that you guys can think of people that you, or companies that you can see it in and around, that you actually really know what they stand for, and that you can see that they're living by their values that they have. And if you've got any examples, pop them in the chat box, because I'm always you know, really fascinated by how this moves forward. So it'd be lovely to hear and get some more examples here. So moving on to our purpose, as I said about the lifeboat, they know why their company or their organization exists. They have one sentence that explains it. And many of you would have heard us speak of Simon Sinek before. And you know, his golden circle starts, his book starts with why. He's got a TED talk that's really worth watching if you haven't already. And as he says, people don't buy what you buy, they buy why you do it. So, for example, people will buy an iPhone or something because they absolutely know that the iPhone stands for something. So that's why they will buy a mobile phone from a computer company, because they absolutely believe in what Apple stand for and what they do. It's why people will go to John Lewis rather than go into the nearest other superstore. And why a lot of people will buy a Volvo car, so that people know why you exist, they understand the ethos behind it, and they will buy into that. So again, how do you find your purpose? And your purpose is not really what you're doing, but it may start with what you're doing. So for example, my job is to coach businesses. But that's not my purpose. My purpose is to make sure that businesses fulfill their potential. And as one of my action coaches said to me last night, my purpose is that no business owner should feel alone. The coaching is the vehicle that we use to do it. So this is the exercise I'd like you to take on board. What I'd like you to think of is, what do you do? And then ask yourself why. And then ask yourself why again. And again. And again. Why is it important that whatever it is that came out of that first why is that important? Usually it takes 5 times why to get to this. But please don't sell yourself short on this. Keep asking why until there's no more whys to be asked. So you keep going until the emotion gets you and you can say, yes, that is my purpose. That is why my business exists. So Matt, my fellow coach, is very, very clear that he coaches businesses because he doesn't want businesses to feel alone. I coach businesses because I want to help that business fulfill its potential. For me, that is one of the biggest things that we do. So let's have a few examples. Now these are a little bit old. You might not, things have moved on, but you could see what they are, and they might be positive. They might be a little bit, oh, it's a bit negative. So they might be sort of in competition with one. Nike, when they first started, they wanted to crush Adidas. That was their big thing. They were in competition and they wanted to become bigger than Adidas. And we have seen a lot of those to initially start the business. I want to be bigger than, but then they will evolve. Their purpose will evolve, because that will only take you to the level of your competitor. And once you've reached that level, you need to have a new purpose. So as you can see on the screen, the Apple purpose is not to make computers. It's not to make iPhones and iPlayers, music, iTunes. It's actually to think differently, and they're disruptors. They want everything they do to think differently and to disrupt the marketplace, which is why a computer company can get away with selling a platform for music, because it's, quite frankly, why would you buy music from a computer company? But we do. And Disney, their purpose in life is to make people happy. And isn't that great? Which is why they were able to move from the films that they did to theme parks and to holidays and cruises. I mean, that's a big leap, isn't it, from a film company producing films for children to cruises for families. Maybe not. We see it and we accept it. But because they knew what their purpose was, they are not tied to where they are now. They are not tied to the technology that they're in now. Can I have a quick show of hands for anybody who actually understands what I've just said, who actually feels that they have a purpose and they know what their purpose is? Great. Wonderful. We've got a few going up, so that is really good. And again, if you haven't got that purpose, then maybe does this exercise that I've just walked through, do you think that will enable you to be able to start to envisage what your purpose is? Do you think you can now start to articulate that? Cool. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to move on to our envisaged future. And this is where it gets a little bit woohoo, a little bit fantasy. Because I'm going to ask you to dream, and I'm going to ask you to dream big. So, if it is safe for you to do so, will you shut your eyes for a moment? Imagine yourself in 2 or 5 years' time. You now have the life you love, the business you've always wanted, and everything in your life is as it should be. Take a moment to really listen to what is going on around you, to see what you see with your eyes closed, and to feel what it is like in your future. Know what you are going to be doing at that time. Okay, so if you can lock those feelings, those sights, what you're hearing in, and open your eyes when you are ready to do so. And I'll have, if you just give me a hands up when you are back in the room. Wonderful. So that was, I gave you 40 seconds to be thinking of your future, which is probably not enough. And if you did manage to get to your vision, if you did manage to see yourself in the future, then fantastic. I'll just give you 30 seconds just to write down what you saw quickly so that you don't lose it. And I'll be back in 30 seconds. Okay, welcome back. So hopefully you've now got some notes of what you want your vision to be. And sometimes we have a very clear vision and sometimes we don't. But what I would say is please do not let your present circumstances, your present situation and your present resources limit what you can see in your future. Because if you can dream it, you can do it. And we're going to sort of like have a bit of a Disney mentality here. A yes, but can you do this? Sorry, not yes, but at all. Excuse me. I should be banned from using that word. We're going to have a yes, if mindset to everything. That's thrown me a bit using but. I don't usually use the word but. So we are going to be saying, can I do this? Yes, if this, and this. So if all the planets align ever so nicely, we can get that working for you. So how do we get the planets to align? So this is your envisaged future. This is where we're going to. So we've now got the three elements of your vision together. We've got those values that you hold to be true. We've got the purpose, the reason you are doing what you're doing. And we've now got your vision of the future, where you're going to be. And those three things will add up to your vision. So let's think about now the vision. Does it inspire others? Because when you have got your vision, you will be able to benchmark everything against that. When you're making decisions about who to hire, you can say, do these people have my core values? Do these people agree with the purpose, or are they at odds with that? And do they buy into my future? Now, if your future is about you and only you, If your future is about making you enough money to buy that yacht or that helicopter pad in the back garden, it's unlikely to inspire others. So if you are building a team, your vision needs to be thinking bigger than just what you can get out of it. It needs to be able to be inspiring. And as we saw from all of those vision examples earlier, they are ones that people can get behind. They are examples of what, so for John Lewis, because it's a partnership, all of those people have are able to get behind, all the partners are able to get behind what they want to do. Unfortunately, John Lewis has been hit quite hard by the current crisis, but they do have those core values. Because the lifeboats are so clear of what they are doing, what their charity is all about, they will inspire people to get in a boat in the storms. I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen the program Saving Lives at Sea, but you know, those people are so brave. They're putting their lives on the line, sometimes for somebody else's complete foolishness, to be honest. And there are times when you think, well, how do they not shout at that individual? But because they've got those values in place, they don't. So the employees are able to keep going, and to keep being in that organization, to keep giving its all. So when you're building a team around you, or if you're working with your husband or your wife, it's really important that you actually agree on your values and your vision. And if you've got different vision and values to your partner, then you know it would be good to get those thrashed out so you actually do understand what it is that you're there for. Okay, so we've put that criteria against it. So what are we going to do now? We've got our vision. Well, we are going to tell everybody, because everybody deserves to know why you are on this planet, because you have something really great to offer. So tell everybody, tell all your team members, and actually with team members, it may be that you're involving them in drafting your company vision. Certainly, one of the best practices in large corporations is to get a team of people from different areas of the organization to come together to actually think about the values and to test those values from different parts of the organization. So it may be that your employees and your team members have been involved in the process all the way along, and that's great. So team members, talk to your suppliers about your values. And if your values is something that will preclude you working with a company that employs child labour overseas, then that's something that you really need to be looking at. And actually, when I was I can't remember the website I was on now, which is annoying, but when I was looking at this, there is a company that actually has on its values that it's anti-slavery, and that it will not engage with any supplier who uses child labour or slave labour in different parts of the world. So tell your suppliers and talk to them, and again, you can see where your values will become useful in actually finding the suppliers that you want to work with. Tell your customers, because if your customers agree with you, then they will come to you and they will stay with you and they will be very, very loyal because you and they have a lot in common and you're part of something together. Tell your friends, tell your relatives, Uncle Tom, Cobley and all, tell absolutely everybody. Be proud that you have your vision and be proud that you have your purpose in life, because not many people do. And if you can condense it down into 5 key values and one sentence that explains what you are what you are doing and where you are going, um, then people will really be able to hear that and they will get behind it. And it will drive your marketing for everything. It will absolutely drive what you are doing and what you're saying. So it makes those marketing decisions and those marketing messages a little bit easier because what you're saying is about your purpose and your values and where you're going in life, your envisaged future. So Elon Musk and Tesla have a vision that that all cars, all modes of transport will be electric, and that space travel will be available to all. And they can see that coming. And so people either love him or hate him, but you really know what he stands for. So be proud of it. So how then do we use these? So it's very clear to us at Action Coach that in order to get the results you want in your business, you have to start with this vision, with your dream. You can then add your goals, and we'll be talking about that next week, how you build up your goals. Add some learning in there. So you work out, okay, when I was talking about yes, if, that if might be that I need to learn how to do it. So you add your learning. And then you get your plan in place. And some of you have been with us while we've been doing our 90-day plans. Rupert and I just did our 90-day plan last week. And it gives us an action plan. We can do it. And then, of course, that's all very good. But if it all stays in your head or on your pieces of paper, it's not going to work. So you then need to take action. If you get all of those 5 things in place, you will see massive results in your business. Does that make sense to everybody? Can you see how it's all fitting together? Thank you. That's really good. So what is the next point of the journey? So the next point of the journey is for you to decide what your business looks like and how you're going to achieve your goals. So we're going to be deciding on what goals you're going to be doing, and Rupert will be going through that with you next week. And the sort of things that we'll be talking about will be how to make sure all of your goals are aligned, so that your long-term goals and short-term goals are aligned together, and that you can journey from one to anything that you're doing in the period now will mean that you get to your long-term goals quicker. So we'll be looking at that, and how do we find them? Sometimes it's very difficult to define our goals, and sometimes we do have trouble, especially if we've got to a comfortable point in our lives. What have we got? So there's a few tools and techniques that he'll be sharing to talk about that. I have now finished talking about vision and values. Are there any questions that we have? Just give you a minute to type any in. Okay, so who is feeling excited about moving into the next week with a new vision and a new purpose in life? Hopefully, all of you. If any of you are having trouble with that, um, then give us a call. Talk to Rupert, talk to myself, and we can help you to brainstorm this. We can help you to try and find your vision in life. Um, if you'd like to follow us on Facebook or on Twitter or in LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, please do leave us a review to say how you found the webinar, um, which we can hopefully use to encourage others to to join us so that they can also benefit from what we're doing. If there are, don't think there's any questions, so hopefully that was clear enough. And my thanks to you all for listening on what is a little bit of a dreary afternoon, but many thanks, and we will hopefully see you all next Thursday at 2 o'clock to work out what your goals are. Thank you very much. And Judith, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.